Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Noah Wilson. I'm a zoologist and a biology graduate student with Miami University, Ohio's Project Dragonfly. And today we're going to be continuing with our video podcast series, Snakes and Misconceptions. Now, today, this is going to be the final portion of our video podcast. And we're going to continue what we have been doing since the very beginning, and that is discussing common myths and false stereotypes that people have often associated with snakes and provide unique herpetological information regarding these amazing, beautiful, and phenomenal creatures. And the information we'll be sharing today has been written by herpetologists who have worked with these animals over many years in both captivity and in the wild, and have seen firsthand just how truly amazing, unique, and phenomenal these creatures really are. And today we're going to be discussing three different misconceptions towards snakes, two of which are very common and I'm sure a lot of us have crossed paths with, and the third being so out there it almost sounds too fictitious to believe. Now, for a lot of us who have worked in the fields of zoology, biology, herpetology, and zookeeping, I think this is a topic we've all encountered at some point when talking to people about snakes. And I think maybe at some point one of us may have even encountered someone claiming snakes are poisonous. Now, here is the truth: there are no poisonous snakes, there are only venomous snakes. As of right now, there are currently 4,000 different species of snakes, and roughly around 600 or so of species are considered venomous. But only a handful of those 600 or so species have venom that can seriously injure a human being. When it comes to venomous snakes, people often tend to exaggerate just how much of an impact venomous snakes have. And actually, in English herpetologist Mark O'Shea's 2024 book, The Book of Snakes, second edition, he talks about a study done by the World Health Organization and statistics regarding venomous snake bites. And apparently, it was found that between between 94,000 and 138,000 people lose their lives to venomous snake bites every year. But in a study done by the World Health Organization regarding the occurrence of people losing their lives to traffic accidents, it was found that in 2015, 1.25 million people worldwide lose their lives to traffic accidents. Now, when comparing these two statistics, it shows that more people will get hurt by accidents regarding cars than by venomous snakes. Now to reiterate what was said at the beginning of the slide, there are no poisonous snakes, there are only venomous snakes. Now, when comparing poisonous and venomous, the major difference often lies in the delivery method of the toxin. Now, for venomous animals, if they encounter a predatory species or a prey species, they'll inject their venom into this prey or predator. Now, how venom work? Now, for venom to work, it has to be injected, which and that can be done usually through either a bite or a sting. And venomous snakes, like the Great Lakes bush viper, seen right here in this picture, if a predator or prey species came along, they would use their fangs and bite into them, releasing a certain quantity of their venom. Whereas in other animals, say invertebrates, one classic example being the bark scorpion found here in the United States. For it to inject its venom into a predator or prey species, it uses a stinger. Now, for poisonous animals, they don't have fangs or a stinger. How, how poison is transferred is it's simply absorbed by the body. And a predator or prey species just has to touch a poisonous animal to be exposed to the poison. One famous example being the golden poison frog of Central and South America. This frog's entire outer skin is laced with a toxin it secretes. And if a predator or prey species comes along, eats, or so much as touches this frog's bare skin, their skin absorbs this toxin, and that will result in a deadly consequence for that animal. Now, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the facts we presented so far, because we're going to be diving into our next misconception. Now, this topic right here, I think, is one a lot of us have encountered or heard about, and that is snakes going after people. Now, in reality, snakes don't usually go after people. In reality, if we're out hiking in the woods or a grassland or a marsh, when a snake senses people or an animal that is much larger than them, it will try to vanish or escape as soon as it detects people in the area. But depending on the circumstances or the surrounding environment, they may not have that option. If if a snake is in an area with a large predator, or say if we're approaching a snake and it has nowhere to go, it will try to stand its ground as a last method of result. But snakes, they don't have armor like a tortoise. They don't have powerful tails and teeth like a crocodile. No, they have an elongated body and they only have their fangs or their teeth to protect themselves. So if a snake is cornered or if it feels trapped, it will bite in order to defend itself. Now, in some cases, depending on the time of the year during the breeding season, a snake may stand its ground if it's trying to protect its eggs. Some snake species, like the reticulated python displayed right here in this picture, certain snake species like pythons, they'll coil themselves around their eggs to protect them. And actually, this is quite interesting. In some python species, like the Burmese python, they'll actually, when they coil around their eggs, they'll actually sporadically twitch to increase the temperature of the eggs, giving them a better chance of survival. And and this is actually one of the reasons why a snake won't try to run off. If it's trying to protect its eggs, it will stand its ground and try not to risk losing its eggs to a predatory species. Now, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed this slide as well, because we're going to be diving into our third misconception. And this one is very interesting, and it almost sounds like something out of the realms of fiction. Now, I'm not sure how many people have heard of this misconception, but it's actually very interesting. And it's milk, and it's that milk can attract snakes. Now, based on the literature that I viewed, it seems like the story originated from farmers seeing snakes going into barns and seeing bite marks on cattle. And these farmers and ranchers, they were actually believing that these snakes were stealing milk from the cows. And actually, this is how some species, like the Honduran milk snake in this picture, got its name, milk snake. But this is actually, but this is very interesting. Reptiles cannot digest dairy. It they can't process it. But this is also very interesting. Depending on the sources that you read, some snakes will actually some snakes will actually drink dairy if there's no other option. Now, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the information we presented in these last three slides, and we'll be diving into our references section. Now, these sources right here were all tools that we used in developing the PowerPoint for this video podcast. Poison versus Venom by Doctors Timothy Jackson and Doctors Brian and Fry from the Australian Academy of Science. This was a major aid when we were putting together our PowerPoint slide regarding poisonous snakes. This gave a clear, in-depth look at how poison works and how venom works and what is used by which different species. And 8 myths about snakes and some misconceptions by Museums Victoria in Australia. This article gave a detailed list of some of the most common myths and misconceptions people have towards snakes, and actually presented us with some that I never even heard of, including the milk attracting snakes misconception. And lastly, Mark O'Shea's book, The Book of Snakes, a life-size guide to 600 species from around the world, 2nd edition. This was a literary treasure when providing snake information. This book gave detailed and in-depth knowledge regarding the natural history of snakes, their anatomy, as well as their venom. Now, if anybody Now, if anybody has questions about these sources, comment down below and we'll do our best to answer them. But we're showing them here in this references section because if anyone has developed any questions while watching this video, and would like to explore and answer those questions, we wanted to show these sources to give you an idea of where you can look, and hopefully they can answer your questions. All right, now lastly, we have our image references section. Like in our other PowerPoints, we wanted to paste pictures regarding the animals that we were discussing, so that when you watch this video and you saw what these snakes were like in real life and not through the means of fictitious media, we wanted you to start seeing them in a much more positive light. And hopefully by seeing them, you developed your own curiosity about them, and this got you wanting to gain more knowledge regarding snakes. Now, with this being our last video in this video podcast series, we'd like to end this with a message. I'd like to thank everyone for following our series, and we hope that you enjoyed watching our video podcast, and that by watching this, you started looking at snakes in a much different perspective. You started seeing them in a more positive light, and you gained some new snake knowledge and you've gotten curious about these amazing reptiles. We really hope you enjoyed our video podcast series, and we hope you continue in gathering more snake knowledge in the future. Thank you.